Okay, the Kraton8s and the Outcast8s 39 Spur Gear install. You have to take the transmission out in order to get the spur off, and then you'll just take the motor mount. The motor mount comes out with the transmission, and you'll take the motor mount off of the transmission with this nut, and it'll free that spur. I already have it on the Kraton8s, so it might be a little bit, I'm up by myself out here, it might be a lot of stopping and stuff, but I just want to show you each step and go from there. So for the sake of this video, I went ahead and put the screws where they are at so you can see each thing. The motor's already off because I was going to be changing this setup. So we're going to take these two screws off, which would start to loosen the motor from the motor mount. And then after those two pieces are out, you gotta flip your unit over. Let's do that real quick. All right, once you flip it over like that, there's this little, another screw just like that one. Once that's loosened, once you loosen it up, it'll probably be over here. Once you loosen it up, not all the way, you'll slide it up to that big hole and take it out of the hole. Take it completely out and put those three screws to the side, which are all the same. I don't know if you can even see what I did. Hopefully you can. Flip it back over, which will then, your motor would be attached to the motor mount, which will then free the motor mount to slide off like that. This is usually on your motor. Once you have that off, what you're gonna do is you're gonna take these pins out. I didn't even mess with this top bar on this side or this side, only on these two sides. So I pull this pin out, and what I found is when I pulled this pin out and I wanted to pull the whole pin out, the ESC and even a little bit of that receiver servo cover are going to get in the way of that pin. So I take it off. I unscrew the cover, pop it off, and that pin will come right out. So anyway, we're going to continue taking this pin out too. So that's number 2. This is pin number 3, and those are your 3 pins you're going to take out. So let's go ahead and take this thing out. And in order to do that, get your tools real quick. But anyway, take these two screws here, number 1, number 2. So let's do that real quick. Once we take those 2 screws out, there's more screws that have to be taken out on the bottom. Turn this, let's put this up a little bit. And the screws that need to be taken out are going to be take that top brace out. Let's go ahead and flip it over. So to get this brace off, we already did this unscrewing. We got to take these 2 pins out. One here and one here. You pull them out on this side. So let me do my best to try to show you how that goes down. There you go. Pull that one out. Put it with that stuff. I kind of tap it first so it pops out a little bit like that. Grab it. Boom. Put it over there with that. Now this is going to free these 2 out. Let me put this down again. This is going to free this thing out. Now we can put all that hardware with that piece, and we know got to put that piece. So obviously we're gonna clean this up also. So now we got those 2 able to lift up. We got to release this pin here. Boom. We already released this pin, but I told you we got to do that receiver thing. So let's go ahead and pull this pin out. Put a little knock on that pin. And then pull it out. And those two little pins, you'll remember that those two little pins go in the bottom section anyway. Okay. Sorry if this isn't like the best video. So now we're at that part where we're going to take that receiver cover off. I don't know if anybody else has figured a better way to get this pin out without having to take the receiver cover off, or at least or even just the ESC. If you see, once you get to that spot, and I figure instead of just taking the ESC off, because the receiver cover gets in the way too, you just take the receiver cover off, which then will take the ESC off with it. So let's go ahead and do that. Take the receiver cover off to the side and pop. Just pull it right off. ESC comes off with it, and then that frees that pin. Am I even on it? Where's my hand? And that frees that pin right there. And we're gonna put that little pin. So you know the two little pins go underneath at the bottom. Bigger pins go up top. All right, once we get to that section, now we gotta unscrew underneath. We gotta go back underneath. We're gonna unscrew the transmission and this motor mount. So let's go ahead and flip it over. You should completely take your transmission out and your motor mount with your 39t Spur. Here we go. That should take your motor mount off along with your spur and this bearing. Let me check this bearing, make sure it's a good bearing. Yep, good bearing. Pull this 47 tooth off, jink, and put it down for a second. Grab that 39. Difference in size, why not? This is the 47, this is what we're putting in, the 39. All right. So let's do the install now. So take your transmission, pop your spur gear on the transmission, take your bearing, pop that bearing back on there, and then take the motor mount, put your motor mount back on. Now you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna stop it real quick because I want to clean it before I go and put everything on. So let's stop this and clean it. All right, we got that cleaned up a bit. So anyway, the 39 tooth is on, the bearing's on. Put your motor mount back on. Boom. Once it's nice and set, nice and neat, you're gonna take your, let's go down here. You're gonna take your nut driver, 7mm. Okay, now we're gonna put those 3 flat screws back to these here and here with the 2.5mm. There. Man, I'll tell you what, that was the only pain in the ass, is getting the transmission back in. And it's not because just pushing this thing down, it's getting the drive shaft in. Do this side first because it's flush, then you can work around there. Either way, it's a pain in the ass. Once you get that in, go ahead and put your damn smaller pins into these braces here. So that's what you're gonna do. Here's number 1. Over here. I won't pin it in until I get it screwed down. Pin number 2, remember the smaller ones are on the bottom. Boom, that's in. I'll worry about doing that after. I'm gonna put the 2 transmission screws in. All right, after you get those 2, we're gonna get the motor mount screws in. Okay, once we got those in, we're golden. Boom, we got that one in. Let's put this one in. Okay, boom. Now those 2 are set. And since we got that pin in, we can go ahead and put our receiver cover back on. Pop this thing back in here. This piece goes under that bracket right there, like that, and then that hangs out in there. So I figured the best way to do this would be to just screw these 2 back in first. Anyway, put that bracket in, that bracket in. Once you got all that put in, you're all good. All right, so next what you do is this would be on your motor. You'd put your motor and the motor mount, or the part that's attached to the motor, in the motor mount. It would slide in like this, like so. But once you slide it, you would flip it over and set that 3rd bottom screw into position. Not all the way, but through the circle part. Once it's in, you slide the mount where you want it to be, put these 2 screws in to hold it for you, flip it back over, and then tighten that screw all the way down. That's it, man. So we got the 39 tooth in the Outcast and the 39 tooth in the Kraton. Have a good one, everybody. Hope that helps someone.